lot of apartments were probably hot. Or he did like I did and just stayed up way too late.
Mine was hot. It never really
I
cooled
fell
down.
asleep at a reasonable hour and then I woke up at 6 in the morning.
Yeah, I always 6 in the morning means I slightly overslept. I've actually used to be a night person, but I've over the years changed into a morning person.
That happens as you
Yeah,
go to bed earlier. All right.
I'm actually productive in the morning. In the evenings, I generally am not. Okay, so let's go in. And as I said, this will be the actual assignment. Parts of it you've probably already done. I'm not going to create all of the schema. I'm just going to create one for manager. If you already have a manager, you do not have to create a manager schema. So I'm going to make sure I don't have a manager schema. I do have a manager schema, so I do not need to make one. Do you want me to make one anyway? All right, I'll delete the manager schema. Is there anything that belongs to the manager schema? I don't think so. I don't see any views or anything. Let's look under programmability. No, I don't have anything that belongs to the manager schema, so I can happily delete it. One of the things you'll find is it won't let you delete a schema or a role if it has dependencies, if there are things that are dependent on it. You'd have to delete those objects first. And you guys don't have to do this. If you have a manager schema, you're welcome to use it. So I'm going to delete it just so I can make it again.
I think we have it in Metro. Should we leave it?
What?
We have it in Metro.
If you have one in Metro Alt, you can leave it if you want.
Okay. Should we be working off of that one as you?
Yeah, we're going to use the manager schema, but I'm going to recreate it now. You guys don't have to if you have it. That's what I'm saying. So basically, to create a schema, you just do create schema, manager schema. And again, if you have it, let it be. If you did anything that depends on it, it won't let you delete it anyway. So if I execute that, it's fine. Creating a schema is the easiest thing in the world. It's 3 words. Create schema and whatever you want to name it. The harder part then is to create objects that relate to that schema. And then once we've created the objects, I may do, we'll do the role afterwards. So the idea of this assignment was that after you had done the plan in 226, you would implement a piece of it here, right? Sort of the manager part, at least pieces of it. Writing this kind of data layer is actually a lot of work. It can take days, weeks. You know, first you have to plan it out really thoroughly. What does everybody need to do? You know, when you look at the manager, what you'd have to look at first is what is it that the manager needs to do in the database. If you're not going to give them direct access to the tables, then you have to create stored procedures and views that will give them everything they need out of the database. So that means thinking it through, building all these objects, etc. This, what I gave you to do, doesn't do the complete thing by any means. So the first one was a procedure that allows them to update, right? So I'm going to create a procedure. I'm going to put it in the management schema, manager schema. So I'm actually doing the assignment with you guys. Dot, and then we give it a name. And the name, so let's just call it update employee. So I'm doing the assignment with you guys. If you already did it. So update employee. Now we need, what kind of parameters would we need? So if I look at employee, we want to update the employee information. Typically what happens when you do a form for this is that first you load the form with all the information from the employee that you're looking for. And then you so you have all these fields and you just change the ones that you want, right? So if you're leaving it the same, you just don't change it. But in the procedure itself, essentially what we need is a parameter for everything here. So one of the things you can do, I'm not sure if this is a great idea, but I'm going to do this. I'm just taking all the fields from employee. And the way, again, the way you get all those fields is you just drag the folder that says columns. Now all of them have to have an @ sign.
So when we keep,
Yeah, we do want the key because that's how we'll tell it's the right employee. Again, this is update, it's not insert, right? This will allow them to change all this stuff about them. Here's a question. Do we want them to also be able to change the employee position?
Yeah, manager does.
Yeah.
All right, so in the same thing here, so like,
Should they be able to change the hire date, or should that just automatically?
yeah, maybe they shouldn't be able to change the hire date. That's actually a good point.
How about the, do we need the key? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do need the key. We're actually going to use the key for, and we have to give all these things data types, right? And the data types should match what's in the table. Sometimes I wish I'd put Visual Studio in here. I mean, the real full Visual Studio, so I could show you what this looks like in the forms. Zip code, what did I do? That's in car 5, so I didn't allow. And the phone I did as 10. And the hire date we're not doing. The email is. So you want it to be able to change the position at the same time? So if we do that, then we need to go to employee position. And do we want to do, so we probably want, we've got employee key. Do we want to just enter the position key, or do we want to enter the position name and then search for the key?
Position name.
All right. So let's do at employee. Well, let's do position first. We'll just call it at position, and we could do a name in var car, I think it's 255. This will be slightly more complex, but that's all right. And then we need like the employee hourly pay rate. Which is decimal.
The data type that you specified for an employee email doesn't match the one.
What did I do?
You have an NVAR card.
Oh, yeah.
employee hourly pay rate is decimal 5.2.
Oh, yes. Actually, that would give us a problem. If the number on the right side has to be less than the total number. Why are these all, did I forget a comma?
We don't want them to change data sign either, right?
Well, they could if they're getting a new position, right? Because that's a position the date that they got. So like if we're poison, that's the date that they're getting the new, if they're assigned a new position. Ugh, what a long name. Date. All right. As. Oh, there needs to be a comma here. Why is it, well, part of it is this, but I'm just wondering, did I mess up on here? That's all I wanted, just to go. All right. I wish I had a better screen.
No, it's good.
So I'll hold it here for a minute.
Is employee position date assignment, should that be date assigned?
Yeah, although it doesn't
Matter.
It doesn't matter, but maybe. These do not have to have the same name as the fields, right? Because they're just variables. And in fact, if you like employee key, I'd probably leave that, but you can do last name, first name, address, city, zip code, phone, email, position. You don't have to, as long as it's clear what they are. So this is just the stuff that you're passing in. And again, this would probably come in from a form in real life. I mean, no manager is going to be typing SQL queries in here. They just aren't going to bother. So there will be, there'll be an interface for this, which will make it a little less weird than it is when you do it this way. Okay, are we ready for the body?
Can you scroll up what is on your number one?
Yes.
Nothing else?
Yeah, there's nothing else. This is the whole procedure so far. So I'm going to, I think the first thing let's do is look up the position name. And then we'll do an update. And then I think that's all we have to really do. So I'm going to do, I'm going to declare at position key. I can't spell position key as an int. Okay, so we need to get the position key. We're going to enter the position name, but we need to get the position key based on that name. So I'm going to select at position key. Equals position key from position where position name equals at position name. Position, which one? Oh, position key.
Yeah. The first position.
Oh, position. I told you I haven't had much sleep, and spelling is a challenge anyway. We should do something here. What if the position name doesn't exist?
What is that thing that you?
It doesn't exist, it probably shouldn't be doing that.
Right, I think if the position name doesn't exist, what were you going to say?
What's the thing, the try catch or whatever?
Well, we don't know. See, it won't throw an error. If the position name doesn't exist, it will just, it will just keep going, because it'll just return nothing.
Would position name be null at this point, or sorry, position?
Well, position key, if position key is null, then we could either end this at this point, or it will throw an error when we try to update, because the position key can't be null. So we could either do a try catch, which you were talking about, and catch the error later, but it probably makes sense to catch it right now. And so basically we could say if we could, well, so if at position or is null. I think it's is null rather than equal null. Yeah.
Windows 10 install.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to wait. I will post this stuff. There's nothing, once it starts doing that, you don't want to break it because it's actually reinstalling Windows. Everybody has had it at one point. It's interesting that it's kind of staggered. But most everybody's had the install Windows thing.
It's kind of nice if it was like, hey, maybe you're in the middle of doing something right now.
Yeah, it would be nice if that was the case. Well, I have a bad habit at home, and then we'll finish this, of leaving things up that I'm working on. And then you come back and you say, updates were installed, everything's gone. So what do we want to do if this is the case, if the position key is null? This,
Make it throw us an error?
that's actually one thing you could do, is you could create an error. Or I was just going to print in there kind of a homemade error message and throw it out. I wonder, I forget how you.
Well, it's going to be like through a form then.
Then it wouldn't work. You'd want to do. So there's a couple of things you could do. This print won't work, right, in the thing. So one of the things you could do is, I'm just going to do this invalid position. And then I'm going to do like a return -1. So one of the things you can do is you could just return a -1. What this is going to return if it works is 0 or 1, actually. But it won't. But if we return a -1, that would tell us that there was an error. So that's one of the things you can do. Or you could create a error. I'm trying to remember, is it just throw? Throw error, throw. I know how to do it in C#. I know how to do it in Java. I'm not sure I remember how to do it in SQL. But you can always do the programmer's #1 aid, Google, although this is Bing because I'm using throw an error in SQL. Raise an error manually in SQL is probably what I want. That doesn't create an error. So it's raise error. So you could do this. You could raise an error, give it a message, give it a severity, and give it a state. I'm sure that there's a list of what the severities and states all are somewhere. But so you could raise an error. We could try that. I don't know. This is the easiest way for right now. Sometimes I've had trouble getting the error message in a form also, but I almost always get the -1. And also, if we return right here, just like in programming in C# or Java or something, the return ends the stored procedure. So if this is true, that position key is valid, the stored procedure is done. Right?
Another thing about returns is you probably also in a forum that's calling the stored procedure, you could test for such a thing.
You're right. Well, I've done that before. Whereas I said I've sometimes had trouble getting the error message out of the stored procedure. I'm sure it's doable. I just have had trouble at it. Whereas I always can get this. You just run this procedure and you say int result equals and run this stored procedure, and it will return the. If it returns -1, then you know that it failed. You can return, as I said, by default, it returns, if it's good, it usually returns 1 or 0. And I've never figured out why sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 0. They're both good answers. It means it worked.
In the next plan, anything other than 0 is usually bad.
Yeah. I think typically it is 0, but you can make it return, as I said, you can return a -1. You could probably, if you wanted to, create your own numbering for the different errors. So now that we've got this, so we won't be at this next part if the position key is invalid. So this is actually, we could do, and probably should do, a begin try. And maybe a begin tran above that. All right, so we're going to begin a transaction, and we're going to begin a try. Remember that what the try does is it tests all the code, right? And if there's any error, it'll fall to the catch. So in the try, we'll do the update. So we'll say update employee. And basically what we want to do is we want to set, and we want each of the fields, right? So I made drag just because I'm really tired. We don't want to do the key, but instead employee last name equals @employee last name, comma, employee first name equals @employee first name. Now again, if they're in the form, if the form was populated, it'll just copy what's in the text box to it. So if they didn't make any changes, it'll just copy what's there. But if something was changed, it'll copy the change. So I need first name, wherever there it is, comma, and I'm just dragging these over, which is why they have the so @employee address. There's all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we want all of them except the and a comma at the end of all of them. So I've got city, zip code, phone. I did phone, right? And an email, and we didn't do hire date. Why is that not giving me, oh, because I didn't do a comma up here. So last one, no comma, where employee key equals at employee key. And we have one more set to do, right? I don't know why. So I'm going to do update employee position. Okay, set. So let's look at employee position. Set position key equals at position key. Employee hourly pay rate equals at employee hourly pay rate. And employee date assigned equals at employee date assigned, which should be in here somewhere. There it is, position date assigned. Okay, where employee key equals at employee key. And then we would do commit tran. All right, and then in try. So if everything goes fine, we'll commit the transaction, we'll commit the changes. Yeah.
See, what about the employees that are in multiple positions?
It should still do, actually, that's probably true. So we might need to do where employee key equals at employee key and position key equals position key.
But are you changing the position? Because
Well, it's possible we could be changing the position. So
it might make more sense to clear the assigned positions first.
we did look up the position.
Yeah, but not the ones that the employee is currently assigned to.
Actually, we are going to, so we put the position here, right?
The new position, I assume, right?
Yeah, well, it could be new or it could be the old one.
Why would we be doing the old one in this sort procedure?
Well, so, because we're just updating the employee, that may not be what we're updating. Does that make sense? It also might make sense to make a separate procedure for the physician, you know, changing their position. That actually probably would make sense with a separate
Yeah,
procedure.
because if you're going to make it a separate one anyway, then why have a field to even supply the position?
Yeah, so, well, people said they would, let's do it all together. So if the position name is here, it's probably, it could be their current position or it could be a new one. Does that make sense? Now, you're right, though, this will change, if they have two positions, it'll change both of them. So how do we do that? What? Oh, it's possible that you could have two positions, I guess.
Like a part-time doing one, part-time doing another, big duties.
Could be a driver and a cleaner.
Yeah, it could be a part-time mechanic, part-time driver, something.
Just not enough people out there looking for it.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of how we would prevent it from updating if they were I'm pretty sure in this database, nobody has two positions.
I
Right.
think there are.
Are there?
That's good.
Probably the trick would be because even if we did a separate one, we'd still have the same problem. I kind of know how. I'm not sure I want to do it though. So what we would want to do is look at the employee position date assigned. And what we would want to do is the original date and then do the new date if we're doing the position. Does that make sense? No response.
Say that again.
I think what we would want to do, again, it would make more sense. We have the employee position date assigned, which would be the new one. We might want to do the original position date assigned. So we could search for that to make sure that, make sure we're getting the right record. Well, let's do. So what that would do is I think this will work. Employee position data.
Yeah, it probably will. I just did a lookup. There actually is nobody that holds multiple.
I didn't think there was here. There are in Community Assist.
That must be what I'm thinking. But at this point, we're still coding based off an assumption that we're only in one position.
Right. This should change that if we do. So we would have to enter the original position. It was assigned. Right. So the one that's in the database now, and we could still change that, but we want to make sure we get the employee, where the employee key and the position, the original position of date. Right. Because date's the only thing we have to differentiate in that table, which could be a flaw in the design. There's lots of flaws in the design.
You could also drop the existing position and just create a new one outright.
You could. But the way we're doing this is that one of the things that could happen is that we just leave it the way it is, right? The way, because we're updating everything all together. Position is one thing that could be updated. The other thing that could be updated is their last name if they got married, their address if they moved, you know. So this is doing all of the updates. Again, it probably makes some sense to do these as separate procedures. Do you guys want to do them as separate procedures now that we do them as one? No? Okay. This should differentiate if the position is changing, so that we only do one position. Although, yeah, I don't know.
Because you're assuming that the two different positions were started on different days.
I mean, yeah, you'd assume that they got the different positions. If they got them on the same day, we're still screwed. Yeah.
I'm getting an error. I'm not really sure what to do. It looks exactly like yours.
What kind of error? I haven't run it yet.
It says something about being scalar variable.
Did you do the, you have a position data assigned? You have employee position data assigned. What I would guess. The only thing I would guess, just make sure this is spelled the same. That's his assignment. And this is assigned. We'll go with what we got. It's not perfect. Actually, though, this would be the kind of thing you'd have to think about if you were really doing these. Again, and I would probably, better practice would be to break these up. It's usually better to do one thing at a time. So we have an end try there. I'm going to do begin catch. And I will do a rollback trend. So if there's an error, you don't want to do this. And then you might do something like so what is it? Is it error message? Oh, what is it? Oh, I know. It just doesn't have a. You could also, there's other things you could do here. So let's do a return. I'm just curious, -2. And catch. Yeah.
And another error that's basically the same thing as.
So if it says scalar, it just means something is spelled.
I don't know where this is. I threw it up here and it's still not happening.
Original position data sign.
Yeah, I don't know where you put that.
I put it in, so I put it up at the top, right?
I added it to the first.
To,
See the create.
I put it like right here. Doesn't matter where you put it in the list. Just,
It must not have worked because I didn't add the data type.
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna, did I run this and it worked? I don't think so. Okay, so we should have a stored procedure. We'll try it here. Not there. Programming, programmability, stored procedure, I'll refresh. And there's manager schema, update employee. Again, it would better practice to do this as 2 procedures. Let's try it. Do you want to try it? Okay, so let's do, first I want to see the employee information. So let's do select star from employee. All right. Why did that not work? In Metro Alt, that should work just fine. There it goes. Okay, so let's change the first employee. What do we want to change about Suzanne? So let's do EXEC, manager schema, dot USP update employee. One of the things you can do is you can bring in the parameters by just dragging the parameters folder. What? I didn't hear.
We haven't declared the original date assigned.
So what I did with that is
Did you do it up there?
I did it up here.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Just grab everything from up there without the data type.
The what? The data type is date.
So how did you grab a whole package, damn it?
Oh, I just grabbed the parameters folder.
Oh, we got it.
So we need to assign values. And for the most part, I'm just going to copy and paste. What do we want to change about Suzanne's?
The last name, so
What? Make her last name what?
Summers.
Summers, okay. We'll make, everything else is just the same. Would the address change? It's probably enough if we do. It's a pain to do this, by the way.
Where did you get into the program? What?
I ran that select. Where did I put it?
I'm just trying to figure out where you're at in the Object Explorer.
So in the Object Explorer?
Yeah.
It's under programmability,
Yeah, I don't, under which one?
Metro.
Metro Alt.
Okay, thank you.
So it might be faster just to type it. All right, so their phone, what did I do for their phone? So I said in practical purpose, what you do is you would have the form pre-populate, so they would only change the parts that they need to change. We probably should change, if her name has changed to Suzanne Summer, we should probably change the phone, the email too. So let's change it to Suzanne Summers. And the position name, when we look at that, what her position, I think, is a driver. Do we want to change her position?
Yes.
So I'm just going to do a quick select on positions.
Lawyer. Let's move her to be a lawyer.
Make her a lawyer.
Why not?
All right. Now we don't, here's something,
I think is there a lawyer? Oh no, I'm thinking of the other database.
no, there's lawyers.
Oh yeah, that's right, because we dropped one.
You know what, I'm going to do that, but when I think about this, there's all sorts of problems with the way we're doing this. Can anybody think of what they might be?
You could change your employee pay rate when it's not real.
How much does a lawyer make an hour? Like 100, 200?
Yours?
My father, a public defender, makes about 50 an hour.
About how much, 50?
50 as a public defender,
You have it here. under
probably more than
employee
that
hourly
for a
pay
private
rate.
one.
Yeah, I mean, some private ones, it's like it's amazing what they charge. Original date assigned.
What was lawyer, what number is lawyer 7?
April 14, 1998.
So what was it?
No.
Four.
April 14, 1998.
4/14/1998. Been a long time. I guess she's been in law school on the nights. And then we'll do today. So there's one of the problems with this in general is, I wonder if it won't allow get date there.
Did you put the phone number in quotations as well?
What? Oh, the 100 shouldn't be in quotations.
The phone number.
The phone number should be. I do phone numbers as character types. The date should be in quotes. I'm not sure why it doesn't like get date.
We go.
We can do I'll just do it. $28. All right, so one of the problems with this is we're losing history. You know, we should rather than just update the position, we should add a new position. And there should probably be something in the position to say what the status is, whether it's active or past. Again, flaws in the database that I come across as I think about them. We'll run it down and see. So this one should work. We've got everything in there. So it has 2 rows affected, which is what we want. If I select, again, go up to select from employee, it's now Suzanne Summers, and her email should also have changed to Suzanne Summers. All right. And if we do select star from position, employee position, it should have changed there too. So her position is now $9 and $100 an hour, and the date has changed. So we lost her. She's still listed as a driver historically. So it looks like a lawyer was driving now.
Oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah, you lose your history. You lose the fact that if you look at the history of the driving, she's driven a lot. But now her position key is 9. So there's all sorts of problems with that. So if you wanted to look up her history as a driver.
Because 2 different, excuse me for interrupting you.
Yeah.
2 different positions should have 2 different position keys.
They should have, yeah, so, and you should keep the old one and keep the new one.
Yeah.
And what there should be in here, not only a date assigned, I suppose you could use the date assigned, assuming they never have 2 positions, you could say the date assigned, the most current date assigned. Or you could have a status.
You could solve it with a different rule for the business where you just give them a new employee key when they get a new position.
You could, although it's still, you have a history problem there. So when now they're a lawyer, they have if you change the employee key, what do you do with all that history of them as a driver?
It's still there, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can't, I actually cannot change this key while there's driver references to it. You can't change a key while there's a child record.
I don't mean to change it.
Oh, just make them a new employee?
Yeah.
That gets a little confusing too. I think it would be better just to have the same employee key. They can have different position keys, but you would keep a record of all the positions they've held. And then you would have some sort of either status or some mechanism for saying if it's current or not. Does that make sense? And it's just not in this database. I think, actually, I'm thinking of retiring Metro Alt after this quarter. It has a lot of weirdnesses in it. I got it. It does have a lot of data, which is an advantage, but it's still in getting the data in it, I made a lot of weirdnesses that I didn't mean to.
So did you see the change Suzanne's?
Yeah, everything changed the way it should.
But I executed successfully. I don't see change.
You have to do, so you select from employee, So I selected from employee first.
Yeah.
And it's now Suzanne Summers as opposed to Suzanne,
Yeah,
Whatever it was.
Kenna, it was Kenna.
yeah, Ken.
It's still Kenna now.
It still is for you?
But no, I think it's
I keep getting errors on the employee key.
What did you enter as your employee key one?
That's your error.
Put, no quotes, and see how that's it.
Okay. Position text.
Was it, what's an integer? Joe has an employee key. Oh, so somehow it's not declared up above in let's go up to the top of your thing.
Can't find that.
Here, restore procedure. You did. I did employee key.
Positions right here, no. Let's say employee is here.
Right.
Then it will print.
So it should work. Why is it not saying?
So there might be a problem with what the employee.
Is there any legal spelling difference?
Employee key.
That looks okay. So let's go down there. That looks okay.
This came over from the string.
Oh, you know what, you need to get the whole, the name of the stored procedure.
Okay, so update?
No, here it is.
Oh, okay.
You're assigning a variable to itself. So delete the stored procedures that you have, and create it.
I am going to, let's see what happens if we give a position that doesn't exist. Anybody have a good position that doesn't exist? Receptionist. Do I not have a receptionist in there? If I spell it that way, it definitely doesn't exist. So what this should do is it should never even get to, see, it just prints out invalid position.
Mm.
So it never even gets to that.
Look at the bottom.
I just changed position name to reception.
Could we also change the key to somebody that doesn't exist?
Go all the way down to the bottom.
Well, you know what would happen if we changed the key? So let's change this back to lawyer, because we could run this again and it would just update things to what they are. But let's say that I do a key of, what is my highest key?
Just do a ridiculous key like 1,000.
Yeah, so I think I never imported like you guys did. I should do that. My highest key is 500.
It just says 0 is affected.
Yeah, that's what I was going to show. Is it just, the thing is, if you update something that doesn't exist, it doesn't throw an error. It just says nothing was changed. What else could we do that would throw an error? I tried to think of something that would cause an error. This is dangerous, so hesitate a bit before you do this. Let me do it, you guys don't need to. So let's say her phone number, her email is going, I'm going to do Robert. This doesn't make sense, but I want to see if I can throw an error. Woo 18. I believe there's a rule in here that emails have to be unique.
And is that one already?
And that one's already taken, so that should throw an error. You have to be careful. If you have an error that occurs in data type, you'll never get to the try catch, right? It'll just crash here. So if I entered something that's not a valid date, it would crash before it ever got into the procedure. There's no way, you can't put a try-catch on the procedure list, the things.
You put a
So-
try-catch in the update.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try this update.
Got it, got it.
Well, you could, I suppose, yeah. So if I do this, am I gonna fail? If not, she's gonna have a weird. It should fail. So it says 1 row affected, 0 rows affected. It didn't actually give me. Let me check and see if it changed her. Yeah, I changed it to Robert Wu. So I mustn't have. I'm going to change it back to Suzanne, or to Suzanne Summers. And then I'll do something. It's Suzanne, that was Three's Company, right?
Yeah. One of those things.
Yeah. That didn't change. Wonder why that. Probably because there weren't any change. So that changed. When I do that, she's still a 9. Okay. So I'm going to do, you guys don't have to do this, and then we'll go on and do the other stuff here. I am going to create I'm going to do it as an index. I think I want it to say create unique index on employee Oh, I need to give it a name. So now it will not allow.
Try again.
Yeah, so if I change this back to,
This is the
now if you did the other thing and didn't change it back,
I didn't do it. It says.
it won't let you create this if there's
I
any
see.
matching emails.
There's already matching emails.
Yeah,
In my, I'm just gonna go delete them, I think.
okay.
Drop, right? Oh, geez. Yeah.
So actually, if I just use Elizabeth Adams, copy. I was just trying to get to the other error. There, it gives me the error message. 0 rows effect, cannot insert duplicate key in object. DB employee with unique index, IX.
Can you tell me how I can drop the person? I'm not thinking.
So you delete, don't drop, but also,
Delete.
do they have any other records associated with them?
It was just the person I added, like when you were giving us.
Oh, so you could just delete from
Updates.
employee
Update
where,
Or alter, I don't know. I just use this. I want to get rid of this so I can put the unique thing because I used it twice.
oh,
Don't look at my email address.
okay. So you could just update the record where it's equal to that, has that key, and then just, so update employee,
Okay.
just like what we did. Set email equals, and give them a different email.
But I need to the employee though.
You want to delete? What do you mean?
I need to update the particular.
Right, so where? where employee key equals. Do it after the set,
Oh, really?
yes.
Oh, that's right. That's right, sorry.
Anyway, this was just to show you that it is still working, it's finding the error. Questions on that? I'm not expecting you, as I said, these are kind of hard. The idea isn't so much to do the stored procedure, it's just the concept of creating stored procedures to do these things. Does that make sense? Let's look at what other ones there are, and then you can try. So I want to go back to security procedures. I don't know if we'll do them all, but whatever we do will be the assignment. So, so we did the employee's position. So to assign a driver to a route for a day, this actually shouldn't be too hard. You guys need a minute? What do you need to see?
It's fine. I have it down.
This is something we had. Did I ever show you how to make a unique index before?
No.
Unique index has the effect. Let me show you. Over here under, so this is on employee. So if I go to employee and look at keys, actually let me refresh it. Didn't do it.
Index.
Yeah, it has the unique index. Sometimes it treats that as a unique, as a key as well, but I guess if you do it as a unique index, it doesn't treat it as a key. If you do it as a unique constraint, it does. All right. Are you guys ready for the next thing?
Yep.
And as I said, we're already at 11 something, so I don't know if we'll get through everything. So this one is to add a driver to a route for a day. Anybody remember, have an idea of where you would find this information? Yeah, basically bus schedule assignment. So it depends on how complicated you want this to be. It could be that we just pass in the shift key, the employee key, and the bus route key, and the date and the bus. I mean, it could be that simple as just inserting those. I suppose you could look things up if you wanted to pass in the employee name instead of the employee key, and things like that. But this could be fairly simple. Shall we keep it simple?
Sure.
Okay. So I am going to create proc management schema dot USP underscore what do we want to name it? Add shift. I don't know if that's what we want to name it.
Maybe assign shift.
Assign shift, that's probably better.
Is it management schema or manager schema?
What did I name it?
It's manager.
It is manager schema, thank you. So basically, I think what we'll do is we'll just, I'm going to pull in the columns. We don't need all of them here. For instance, we do not need bus schedule assignment key. We do want the shift key. Now, do we want to enter the shift? Well, so actually, a lot of this, you could just enter the shift. The keys, because you could get them from drop-down lists if you had the, assuming you had an interface, you would have the, the time and things, but you could pass the key in. So if you had a web form where they were doing this, or they're assigning somebody to a date, you could probably just pick the name out of the list, and it would pass in the key. You could pick in the shift, and it would pass in the key. You could, the bus route key is the bus route. And the bus schedule assignment date, you could just do as the current date, or you could, if you're doing it in the future, you could sign that date. And then the bus key is the name, the number of the bus. So this is actually pretty easy. Most of this stuff is int, date, and int, and then as. So this one is pretty simple. Why does it not like that?
Go.
Oh yeah, probably go. So that shouldn't be it. Actually, bus driver shift key.
You don't have an add symbol for any of the variables.
Oh yes, you're right. They all have to have ats. It's a good thing you guys are paying attention.
Or something, yeah, at the very least.
Yeah.
Maybe a pin is confusing.
At the most, but then you find it.
Free lunch.
Do we need to begin try? That's true.
Maybe only half. Maybe good.
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe go to find it, Jim.
If you go put your cursor on
Everyone
bus
said
key
it.
on
Yeah.
line 80 and push
Oh, we need to be quiet.
Control 2 or 1. What does that mean?
A pin that says.
Control 2?
Yeah, or 1. You have to have the cursor on the bus key. I think.
I can
maybe
bring mine, Samsung.
roll it.
Easier.
No, it
Oh,
happens
wow.
either way. It doesn't matter.
Show your work.
Like, Control 1's got
Could stand
a
your
bunch of status and
That's interesting.
yeah, it's like there's a whole row of lines that it's
I have no idea what that's doing.
only 1 and 2.
So this is stuff from, I know it, this is the processor ID, status, login name, host. I have no idea what it's doing here. Command unknown token. I wonder if it's because it has the app. What happens if I do? Is it always the same?
Yeah.
So if I come down here, I get the same thing whether I do. I think what it's doing, that's an interesting thing, that's Control I or something. I think what it's doing is it's showing you the current stats for this window. So I'm not sure it matters where the cursor is. It's the Control 1 or Control 2. That's weird though, I never did that before ever. All right, so we're beginning our transaction. And we will begin our try. And there's a couple of reasons to do a transaction here, even though this is going to be a real simple begin try. Even though this is going to be real simple, what are some of the things that could cause this to fail? That would cause an error? Anybody? No?
Driver doesn't exist.
Driver doesn't exist, route doesn't exist, bus doesn't exist. So if you entered any of those three, it won't object to them up here because as long as you enter a valid integer, it doesn't care what it is. But down here, if they don't exist, it will throw an error.
Is that a foreign key constraint?
Yeah, all my foreign keys are constrained, so you can't enter something that doesn't exist. So basically, we're going to just do insert into bus schedule assignment. And you should, actually, I'm going to bring in the columns. And again, I'm just going to drag the columns folder over. These are all kind of cheats. We don't want the bus schedule assignment key because that's an auto number. But all the others we want. I'm going to break them down for readability. As I say, it's kind of a cheat because if you're doing this from a command line, you wouldn't have these luxuries. Values are going to be just basically the, I'm going to drag the columns in again, get rid of bus schedule assignment key. This is one advantage to naming your variables the same thing as your fields. If you're in this context anyway, it makes life easier. Okay, so that's our insert statement. All right, just insert into bus schedule assignment. All the fields except for the bus schedule assignment key, which is auto-generated. And then for the values, we just enter all of our variables. Okay, and then we want to commit our tran. And in try. Begin catch, rollback tran. Although it wouldn't, in our case, if there was no, and for us, I am going to just print error message. You know, typically it wouldn't enter the insert would have failed anyway. So rolling it back doesn't matter at all. You want me to walk through it from the top? Mind your way. Okay. So we do the insert. So you have all those variables up at the top. Same ones as down here. Do an insert. The values are the variables that we're going to enter, and then do the, just commit it if it works. If not, it'll throw an error. Roll back and throw an error. Questions on that? This one's pretty easy. The next one is insanely hard, so we'll see. So I'm going to run this, and we'll see if we can make it work. And if I go down to programmability and refresh on stored procedures, we'll see we have another management schema assigned shift. This is something they would probably do all the time. Again, you might do it, have drop downs for a lot of this. Did you have errors?
I have errors on my begin train.
What is the error?
Probably something I just about seen.
It's supposed to be when it's
Begin tran, that should be, oh, your bus key doesn't have a type. Sometimes the error falls near, like it says, but not on it.
Okay.
And ESSEC won't do me any good at all. So let's change that to exec. Management, so I'm gonna actually just drag this in. And again, if you open up, now you have to, to see this stored procedure, you will need to refresh. After you run it, you'll need to refresh at the stored procedure folder. But once it's there, you can do this and you can pull in the parameters. And then again, I'll just break these. Now, I don't know. So how many shifts did I have? Like 3 or 4? Let's just do 2. Employee key. Do we want our lawyer still driving? So we need to know who's a driver. I think 3 is or 6 is.
one is driver.
She was. We just made her a lawyer.
Just easy as that.
Well, she drives the bus and gives.
Legal advice. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Some bus drivers probably do give legal advice, but so the
But they
date.
have to add a disclaimer saying, I'm not a lawyer,
Yes.
but here's my advice. But Suzanne, she doesn't.
She doesn't have to. She is a lawyer. Can she get money on the side above the fare? This will be for tomorrow. And the bus key, how many buses do I have? Like 70? Let's just do the bus key is 40. I used to ride the 43 a lot. Let's do the 43. When I lived in Ballard. I don't know if it even goes to Ballard anymore. But
What
it
is,
used
what
to.
number?
43.
43 and 44, I think, do.
I know they used to.
44 is the Ballard one.
It used to be that they both did the same route with a variation,
Mhm.
and then they shifted it. Yeah.
Yeah, some were out like every half an hour during rush hour, they go all the way to Ballard. Those are into 44.
As I said, when it was a 43 when I lived in Ballard, but that was 20 some years ago. So if I execute this, it says 1 row affected. Now I am not 100% sure that employee key 6, we may have just put a manager on a bus route, I don't know. We should have probably
Sounds
looked
good,
that up, yeah.
Undercover boss.
Yeah, undercover boss, that could be. So I'm going to just select star from, did you have an error? Bus schedule assignment.
Bus schedule assignment key. Did you take that bus schedule assignment key?
I did because you can't do that one.
When you created the procedure?
Did it? Where is this? Oh, it's very, yeah, well, when you do the insert, you can't insert into the bus driver. You can't insert the bus schedule assignment key because it's an auto number.
Yeah, that's.
So here is 6, bus driver shift 2, bus route key 25, and the date is tomorrow and the bus key is 43. So it all inserted. I am somewhat curious, or I'm somewhat curious if I assigned a bus driver. But yes, she is, or he is, whoever it is.
See up to your,
The insert.
procedure. No, sir, procedure. See, one of
Well,
your,
this is the store procedure. This is the insert part. What part are you
the
giving?
top part. Yeah, there you go.
Let me look. Error converting data type to then type to date. Date, yeah. Let's look at the list here. Bus key, bus schedule assignment date. Okay, so let me go down there. Bus schedule assignment date equals, what did you, bus schedule assignment date? I'm just looking again. I have a date. So why is it saying it's having trouble here? Oh, don't run the execute in the same thing. Creates an infinite loop. Oh, get rid of that slash at the end.
Yeah, that's why.
Yes. So let's enter a date or an employee that doesn't, not a date. Let's enter a bus route that doesn't exist. What's the highest bus route? I can do a quick select. So the highest bus route is 126. So if I were to change this and say that the bus route key equals 127, it should throw an error. And then it does, it gives me the error message, the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint.
What does that mean by foreign key constraint?
You can't enter when you, so this is, could be a long lecture. Referential integrity, when you create a foreign key constraint, like you declare something as a foreign key, what that means is that you cannot have any value in that field that does not exist in the parent table. So if there is no bus route 126, it's not a legitimate
That's what
foreign
it's
key.
called. Right.
Also, it would probably try to prevent you from deleting 126 if it did exist.
Right. So if bus route, that, yeah, that's the, so for inserts, what it does is it doesn't allow you to insert into the child table any value that doesn't exist in the parent table. For the delete, you cannot delete the parent if it has children. And for the update, you cannot change the key in the child to some, you can change it, but it has to change it to a key that exists in the parent. If that makes sense. Referential, that's called referential integrity checks. And that's why you do them, is so that you don't have like random bus routes out there that don't exist. You assign people to things that don't exist. That could be a bit troublesome when you're doing your schedule. So are we, I am really tired. What? I know, but this time I only had 3 hours sleep, so I'm really tired. Tired is, it gets to be more normal as you get old, I guess, but also just with the long commute. Shall we try how many hours? Try this last one? And then we'll have lunch. So I think what this is, first thing we'll do is just do a query. Just to figure out if what would be involved in knowing how many hours somebody works between two given dates. How would you figure out how many hours somebody works between two given dates?
Grab a calculator.
You look at better.
So we would need,
The bus driver shift?
we need the what shifts cert worked, right? Because there's different hours on the shifts. And we would need to know how many times they were assigned during those 2 days. So we were just trying to find out how many hours they worked, right? This is a hard query. When I wrote that, it's easy to write that as saying, oh, I'll figure that out. But it's actually very hard to do. So I'm going to do select. And let's look at the shift. Bus driver shift. There's a shift name, there's a shift start time, there's a shift end time. So to get the actual hours, I think we want some bus driver shift, actually some, and then we want the diff, right? Does hour work there, or do we need HH? Does anybody remember?
We got this one.
And I always get these backwards. I want the start time and then the stop time, right? Kind of the reverse order of what I would think the subtraction would be.
That's what it's asking.
Yeah, so let's do the start time. And let's not do the sum right away. I want to see if that works the way I think it should do. From so I'm going to also do the shift, bus driver shift name. I'm not going to have that in the final query, but I want it right now. From bus driver shift. And what I want to know is just if that equation is going to give me. So some shifts are 9, 8, and 6. Morning shift is 9 hours. Afternoon is 8, and evening is 6. Okay, so that gives me what I want. Does that make sense so far? And this is how I would proceed doing this, is I would build little pieces of it and test it and then figure out. So then I am going to do, I'll get rid of the shift name for this. I'm going to do the sum because we want the total, right, of hours. So we can do that from, but I think, is there anything, so I want to know, that actually should be, let's see what happens. I'm going to do inner join. Sure. So what I'm doing is I want to find out the total hours for the shifts that they drop.
I understand that you're talking and I'm typing at the same time. So I need to have a little time to integrate. Does that make sense?
So this gives us the hours per shift. The sum will total it.
Okay.
And
Bus driver shift name?
yes, I did. I wanted it for the test query, but it would actually cause problems in the final. So I'm going to interjoin with bus schedule assignment. So let's do this as BS, and this one is BSA. On BS dot bus driver shift key equals BSA dot bus driver shift key. And then I think actually all I have to do,
And we're doing that because we want.
We want to figure
So
out how
that's
many
the assignment
hours
dates.
somebody worked between 2 dates, right?
Okay.
And we're going to do, so one of the things is we want to do where employee key, we could probably put, I'm not sure if we need employee key up here. We could put it there, though. I think it would be all right. Because we're going to group by it. We're also going to group by, so where employee key, we know that 6 is a bus driver, so let's add 6. And in BSA, we have the bus schedule assignment date between what dates do we want to do? It has to be dates in the database.
What dates does your database include?
Well, I think it includes 2004, 2005, and 2006.
I think it's 2014.
Yeah.
2014, that's what I mean. 2014, 15, no, 2012, 13, 14?
Not like schedule assignment.
Yeah, just what are the dates in there?
C12 through 14.
Okay, so let's try 1/1/2013 and 1/31/2013. So I'm putting in literal values here, but we're going to change that with the stored procedure. Is invalid. Oh, but I didn't group by. I need to group by. So they worked 345 hours. So that actually worked.
Nice.
345, so 40 times 3, 40 times 4, if they worked 4 weeks, would be, yeah, so they are working an awful lot, which is quite probable in this database.
Because they're working over, it's working 80-hour weeks.
Yeah, plus. But I suspect that that is correct in this database because of the way I did it with loops and stuff. So some people are just insane.
Hi, Steve.
Yeah.
Is this fit for the assignment, the last statement?
This is the last one, yes.
Paste or sheet?
So I'm putting an alias up there of total hours, just so that we have not a no column name, but that. Now to turn this into a stored procedure is actually pretty easy after this. So we do, yeah, I did an alias of total hours for the equation. Create proc manager schema. USP total hours between dates. I don't know. Total hours.
Date range.
Yeah, or 2 dates by date range. Total hours date range. That's actually good. All right. So what are the parameters that we need? Right, exactly. Yep. So what we want is basically, so we do add employee key, which will be an int, right? And then at start date. You can name it whatever, but it'll be a date, and then at end date. Which will be a date. We put an as in here. Do go. And then down here where it says employee equals 6, we do at employee. And we do between at begin date and at end date. Now we could also put it in a try catch if you want. Oh, start date. Oh, and this is employee key. Oops. So this is the whole thing, actually. We could put a try catch around it and begin trying. You want to do that or no? You guys with me so far?
Yeah.
All right. As I said, I put all these up online too. Yeah.
When I run this without the procedure and these variables, this is what it's giving me for this.
Just nothing. What employees? So you got 6. 1. Oh, you got 20. Well, 2013. Is that what I used? Yeah. Bus driver, shift time. That actually looks like it should be good. Start 2014. What date did I use? Did I use 2013? We'll look at it. I don't see anything wrong with that. Still nothing. Why is it returning nothing? You select on this here.
Open, close, close.
Yeah, it's not giving any syntax errors. It's what date, hour. Bus start here. It should give you total hours. It is join. Bus starter key.
Oh, that's it.
That's it right there. Yeah, you're matching 2 different things.
So what did you wanted?
So it should be bus driver shift key, just BSA bus driver shift key. Bus driver shift key is what joins it.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Great, so 345.
Yeah. So, and just this part is just added. Begin tran. It's just what we've done before. Begin try. The things that will cause this to fail are as if you basically it's an employee date or employee number that doesn't exist. It's the only thing that could cause this to fail. If it doesn't have, if the employee didn't work between those dates, it'll just return 0 hours. So I will commit tran. Actually, we're not. In a way, this doesn't matter
Why?
because we're not doing anything to the database, right? We're just selecting. So we're not going to do any damage. There's no real reason to do a tran.
86 hours a week.
Yeah, I know, it's insane.
You don't have transaction.
I'm not going to do a transaction because it's just a select. So let me try running it and then we'll call it lunch. I will post this. Do you want it on GitHub or the blog? Blog. All right. First person speaks gets the ray. So I'm going to do EXEC. Come down here to programmability, store procedures, refresh. So total hours, date range. And then I'm going to drag in the parameters. So let's try employee key. Needs to be a driver. Does anybody know? Well, let's do 6 again. I'll just do different dates. Equal 6. Equal 6. 6 1 2014. And it's always possible these dates will result in nothing. 1 week would be what, 6/8, 6/7? Just to see what I get. 92 hours they worked in 1 week, or in 8 days, 7 days. I'm killing off my employees. They're all getting rich, but they'll all be dead
I
young.
do not want to be on a bus where any of these bus drivers are driving.
That's true. They're going to be more loopy than I am today. They obviously have had 0 sleep.
Unless it's occurring on a different planet.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Or a different time where it's easier to buy amphetamines.
We-
Or maybe they're all Terminators and they don't have to have sleep.
Yeah, although so the amphetamine argument, that might work for the first day.
Maybe they have like time.
But eventually they would get psychotic.
Be sleeping at the same time they're driving.
Yes, yes. It would be interesting in the world where this metro bus system works to see how many accidents they have. That's why maybe why they have so many lawyers that are so high paid. My brother-in-law is a bus driver, but driving a bus in Seattle would terrify me. I'm sure I'd kill people every day.
Yeah.
The narrow streets and the people darting out all over the place. And
Big buses that go through like tiny Seattle. I don't even know how to do that.
That's true. They've probably got experience.
Far-flung routes in the middle of the night.
yeah, I mean, for years I took it from Federal Way in, but even then, you end up downtown to do that. We had some pretty good accidents along the way, actually.
I feel pretty safe inside of a bus because if there's an accident, most likely the bus will win.
Yeah, the worst accident I was in, somebody fairly stupidly just cut in front of the bus. I mean, literally with inches. So the bus hit the car, pushed it this way into another car, which then pushed it over into a semi, which then jackknifed the semi.
Oh my God.
So we blocked the entire Interstate 5. It was kind of fun. Nobody was hurt, luckily, which is really lucky considering the cars were pretty mangled. On the bus, it was really loud, but it barely felt it.
It's because buses are huge.
Yeah. But then we had to sit on the freeway for like an hour while the cops came and interviewed everybody. You know, what did you see? What happened? And then you had to wait for the freeway to clear so another bus could get through so you could get on it. It was not fun, although it was, those things have sort of, you build a certain camaraderie with the people you're
I
around.
would be excited for like the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you just want to leave.
I've been in other more minor fender benders and stuff with buses. It's always a pain because you're going to be late after that. But for what it's worth, the train isn't a whole lot more reliable. Things happen on the tracks and there's no way around them. So if a train ahead of you hits something or breaks down. All right, so I'm going to post this on the blog. You can post what I did or what you did in class. We'll call this the assignment for the day, and then that way we can start on the data warehousing and all of that next time, which is way complicated and will probably take the rest of the time we got.
It could be worse if the train ended up derailed.
Yeah,
Like, 'cause at least in a crash, the bus that you were on could probably start back up again.
maybe. They generally won't allow them to move on if there's any damage. But they usually do get it pulled over to the side
Sounds like
eventually. It's actually kind of fun to transfer buses on the freeway because they make you get off into the Meridian area and walk, and then the bus comes up here. They won't let you go on the freeway side, which just makes sense. And they often have a police on either side to kind of guide, make sure that there's a safe entry. I've been commuting for way too many years. So I'm going to post this. This should all be on a video, although let's see. See if it popped out or if it's still, looks like it's still recording. So I'm going to stop.